Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're going to be doing an unboxing, review, and demo of the first ever IPSY Glam Bag X. This is the curated by Patrick Ta IPSY Glam Bag upgrade box that is honestly massive. So if you want to see all the items inside the box, how I use them, and all of that good stuff, make sure to keep on watching and don't forget to subscribe because I upload every other day. And that'll be the best way to stay up to date on all the fun stuff I'm posting. So if you want to jump into the IPSY Glam Bag X by Patrick Ta, stay tuned. Okay, so first thing, it has this really cute like newspaper in here. Patrick Ta curated it. It talks about all of the products in the box. It's actually really cool. So I'm going to use this as we go through each item in the box to talk about them today. Now, the first item I'm going to do is going to be my eyes. So this comes from Huda Beauty, and this is the Rose Gold Remastered Eyeshadow Palette. Now, I'm actually going to drop this in an upcoming giveaway because I actually have the original Rose Gold palette, and they're different, but they are so similar that I'm just going to use this one because I really don't need both. With 18 trendy shades and 4 different finishes, this ultra-versatile collection of buttery shadows can be used to create pro-quality looks that are soft and romantic or bold and glam. Patrick's tip is pack on the pigment right where you want it, then take a clean brush or your finger to blend the shadow up and out for an elongated cat eye effect. Retail value of $65. So before I'm ready to actually put the eyeshadows on my eyes, I do need to prime my lids. So I'm going to go prime my lids and I'll be right back to use the palette. Alright, I am back. Eyes are primed. We're going to jump into the palette. Now, a lot of the shades between the two palettes are very similar. There's a few different, but I'm going to be doing something a little bolder today. So I'm going to start by grabbing a packer brush. This is the Delium Tool 776. And I'm going to take the shade Bossy right here. Normally, you guys know I tend to build up shades slowly and softly, but today we're going to kind of go for it. So I'm going to grab my brush and I'm going to take this above the crease and into the socket. Normally, this is a much darker shade than I would go in with first, but this palette and the formula is super forgiving that I am totally okay with going right in. Now for emphasis, I am going to pack that color on a little bit more because I do want it to be a bit more dramatic and bold than I've normally done. Plus, this video will be going up on Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day. I do want this to be a little bit more like date night, evening out. Not that any of us are going anywhere, but I'm going to go for some very sultry, warm tones, very Valentine's. All right, and that's only one shade, so I'm really quite happy with how this formula works. Next, I'm going to jump into, oh, this is hard. I'm going to go lightly into the shade Shy right here, which is almost a taupey mauve, very neutral but leaning cool. And I'm going to tilt the head back and use this to blend out the edges. And you can see from one to the next what that does. See how it's so much more diffused and soft and blended? That's what we're going for. Taking a very pointy brush, this is a Sigma E45. I'm going to take Black Truffle, which is the black shade, and I'm taking a tiny, tiny amount. And I'm just going to gently trace the crease under the socket. Like, see how little I used? I'm really just taking this to set where I want that definition to be. And then I'm going to blend that out with the other colors again. But I really want that rounded effect today. Back into that first brush, just diffusing a little bit more. This is also going to make it that I don't need to use concealer to get a cut crease effect, because I've used that dark shadow instead. Picking up that same shade Bossy with a tiny bit of the black and mixing those two right on the tip of the brush. I'm going to deepen the outermost portion of the eye. Quick blend with the fluffy brush. Now obviously we are going into the Rose Gold palette for a Valentine's look. So I'm going to go into the shade Rose Gold, which is this pinky shade right here. Now this formula is not flaky, but it does fall out a little bit. So I am going to make sure that I spray it with a little bit of setting spray. And this is also why I'm doing the eyes first, because this palette does have a lot of pigment, so it can fall out. All right, so I just grabbed a makeup wipe. This one is from the IPSY Refreshments box, and I'm just going to use this to clean up any fallout and just fix the shape of the eye. All right, we are going to come back to eyes in a little bit once the rest of the base is done. But I am going to curl my lashes because the next item out of the box is a mascara. Okay, so the mascara is from Pat McGrath Labs. It is the Fetish Eyes Mascara. I have actually never used this before. Retailing for $30, this cult favorite mascara from world-renowned makeup artist Pat McGrath has a flexible, buildable formula that allows you to go from soft and fluttery to bold and thick, making it the ultimate pro artist secret for customizable lashes with zero clumps or flakes. Patrick's tip is I love that this mascara is so black. It really deepens the eye look and makes it more dramatic. It is a little bit of a larger wand than I typically like, but, you know, who knows how it's going to perform. So right off the bat, that actually looks like falsies. That is beautiful. I'm going to let it dry down a little bit, and then I'm going to put on a second coat. All right, first coat is on and dry, and I do think everything looks beautiful. But I'm going to take a little bit more and try coat number 2. Even with the second coat, I'm not getting clumpy at all, which I think is really saying something. Yeah, this mascara is beautiful. I don't even feel like I need falsies. All right, the next item out of the box comes from Private Doctor by ID Hospital. This is the Define Minus Serum. Retailing for $49. This is not your average face serum inspired by professional derm doctors and treatments. It uses micro-tingling spicules to deliver a cocktail of smoothing, firming, and plumping ingredients to the deepest layers of the skin. Help to boost these benefits by working the serum in with your new Complex Culture tool, focusing on your jawline and cheekbones. Speaking of which, we're going to use the Complex Culture Sonic T-Bar Facial Massager. Now, this is a $58 value, and as you guys know, Complex Culture is IPSY's brand. And I have yet to find a product. Nope, that's a lie. I had one lip gloss or lip stain once I didn't like. But other than that, I have liked all of the products from their line. All right, so I opened it up, sanitized it, and I did just put in a AA battery because there is not one included. I'm going to use the serum today as well. Now, I don't necessarily think that I'm going to see results from the serum. I've said this to you guys before, but unless you're using a skincare product for 28 to 60 days, you are not going to see results. But something that claims to be super plumping might actually work out really well. So, cute little bottle. I'm going to take about a pump and a half and put that over my skin. And then using the facial massager, I'm going to pulsate it in. So that actually felt really nice together. The pulsation definitely helps to push everything into the skin. Plus, because it's vibrating, it's breaking down any, puffiness or anything beneath the surface of the skin. So it also helps everything to look a little smoother and a little less puffy, which, who doesn't want to look less puffy? Next is also from Complex Culture. This is the Angled Foundation Brush. Now, I have a few of the brushes from this collection, and I have loved all of them. This one is a little bit more of a triangle shape, which reminds me a lot of the Sigma Kabuki brush, but, it's a pretty interesting shape. I feel like it'll get in here nicely. So always wash your brushes before you use them. I should have said that first. I'm going to grab, because it's a brush, I'm going to take a little bit of a foundation. This is from Avon, and I'm just going to dot this around and blend it out with a brush. I do have my sponge here on deck, because you guys know I have said it before. I like to apply with a brush and then finesse with a sponge, just because I find I really enjoy the finish a whole lot more when I use a sponge. So the brush is definitely a little hard. I feel like it's soaking up a decent amount of product, but it's very, very dense. So I'm going to take a little bit of a tinted moisturizer on top because I am feeling like The finish of this is very heavy and very dry, and I want to feel a little more glowy. And it also feels a little bit light, so the tinted moisturizer is like one shade darker. There, color-wise, that is much better. I think this is spreading the product on nicely, but I definitely don't think this is a brush that I can use without a sponge. So I'm gonna grab my sponge and just pat everything together, melt everything into the skin, and make it look perfected. All right, I'm gonna go pop on concealer, set it down, and I'll be right back for the next item in the box. All right, we are back. Time to finish up the eyes. So I am going to grab, I know we're using Huda, so I'm gonna grab the Huda gel liner, and I'm gonna put some black liner in my waterline. All right, back into the palette with the pencil brush. Actually, I'm gonna start with a flat brush first. I'm gonna take a flat brush with a tiny bit of that black shadow, and I'm gonna lightly set down. Then on the small part of my double-sided pencil brush, I'm gonna go into Bossy, the shade we used up top, and I'm gonna lightly smoke this out, concentrating most of it on the outermost portion of the eye. And then when there's like no product left on the brush, then I will blend close to the inner corner. Then onto the fluffier side, going into Shy, the mauve-y tone we used before. I'm going to use that to blend all of that together. And just to make sure everything's perfect, I'm going to take the fluffy brush we used earlier, and I blend from inner to outer, and then around the upper portion of the eye, just so that the outer part is all blended the same. The last thing we want is it to look like the top of our eye and the bottom of our eye belong on different people. And to finish up the eyeshadow, last thing I'm going to do is take the shade Angelic, which is the shimmering pink in the top right corner, and I'm going to highlight my inner corners. All right, that is it for the palette. On to the next product. Now, this comes from Farah. It is the Fluffy Highlighting Brush and the Chisel Contouring Brush. So I don't see any details on the brushes in here, so I'm just going to use them. I'm going to start with the chisel brush right here, and I'm going to grab my bronzer. I'm actually going to mix two today. I'm going to be using Fenty as more of a contour. This is the shade Shady Biz. And then I'll be taking Wannabe from Il Makiage right on top. It's a little bit warmer, so that'll be more of a true bronzer, but I'm going to be using the same brush for both. This does remind me of the Fenty cheek brush. So I'm just going to glide around the temples and over the cheek. The shape definitely hugs the cheek nicely and really is diffusing product in a nice way. Like, just look at how that shadow looks so far. Normally, you guys know I go in with a massive fluffy brush, but I think this one looks nice. I feel like I would like this brush more for blush. And then on the same brush, going into the Il Makiage, we're just going to kind of top everything over. I think this brush is actually really, really pretty. Like, everything feels a little diffused. It doesn't feel super harsh. Now, there's a little bit up near the temples where I feel like it could be blended a little bit better, but I think that might be more of a user error than the brush, because I feel like it looks very pretty. For the other brush, I'm going to highlight, and I'm actually going to use the highlighter from my Natasha Denona Bloom palette, and I'm just going to lightly hit up the cheeks. I like this brush. It's a little denser than what I would normally use for highlight. I normally like something a little bit more fluffy, but I think it works beautifully. And the blush that's going to go on top is going to be a little bit luminous as well, so I don't need to go overboard on the highlight. Speaking of blush, this is from Patrick Ta's line. It is the Monochrome Moment Velvet Blush. Retails for $32. Apply your blush towards the upper cheekbone to enhance your bone structure and give you color. Flush, fresh, and lit from within. This is Patrick Ta's signature. Get the look in real life with a few sweeps of blush across the cheeks and lids. It doubles as a shadow. Pigments are infused with light reflecting mica for a luminous glow, which is what I basically just said. Mine is in the shade She Is Seductive, which I think is going to be really pretty today. So grabbing my blush brush, I am going to apply this almost over the highlight just to get a little more luminosity, but still some flush color to the cheeks. See how it's blending into that highlight to really let everything meld together? Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm going to take whatever's left on my brush and just hit up the bridge of the nose. I like it. I like this a lot. All right, I am going to just then grab a quick spritz of setting spray and my sponge just to press everything into the skin and make everything a little bit smoother. You guys know I always do this just to make sure that everything is pressed into the skin and melted together. All right, we are almost done. Last item from the box is from About Face. This is the matte Paint It lip color in the shade Cautionary Tale, which is very purpley. And I hope it looks good with this eye because mauvey blush, rosy eye. Patrick is famous for creating super saturated lips, so he had to include this matte liquid lipstick from About Face, a brand new for everyone everywhere created by Halsey. This ultra pigmented and long lasting yet totally lightweight lipstick will add dimension, apply a liner 2 to 3 shades darker, and then go in with the actual color in the center and blend. So I'm going to grab a dark lip liner. This is called Neutral Deep. This is the dark lip liner from Beauty For Real. And I'm going to use this to line my lips. All right, liner is on. Time to apply the lipstick. It's a very tiny little applicator, but the color's very pretty. I think this might work. All right, full disclosure, I am getting a little bit of an issue with keeping it super opaque. Like I'm getting some patchiness. So I'm going to give it a couple seconds to completely dry down, throw on a second layer, and I'll be right back to go over my final thoughts. All right, I am back and here for my final thoughts. So the lipstick is probably the only item in the box that is not a slam dunk, out of the park, whatever sports metaphor you want to use. For me, I think it's a little bit patchy, and I did have to wait for the first layer to completely dry down before I was able to apply a second layer, and even then, you'll notice specifically on my Cupid's bow and this side of my lip, it's still a little patchy, and that's not really what I'm going for. I do love the color though. It is definitely the type of purpley berry that I go towards, but I'm not loving the formula. I also am going to say that the brush was a little too dense for me and it was a little too hard for me. I like a brush, especially a foundation brush, that has a little bit more give to it. Every other product was an out of the park, home run, slam dunk, again, whatever sports metaphor you want. I think it's going to take me a little longer to figure out if the serum is a true hit for me because, again, until you're consistently using skincare for 28 to 60 days, you're not really going to know if it's working for you. But I think the skin has really nice glow. I think it worked really well under the makeup. I loved the way the sonic device pulse broke up all of the congestion under my skin. The palette is obviously beautiful. I love the way it turned out. And the mascara, like my lashes look great. The other brushes were also really nice. I think this is going to become a new staple in my routine because I love the way it just cups the cheek and applies so nicely. It'll take me a little bit of practice to really perfect how to use the brush, but I do really like it already. So for the, I think it's a $50 price point, I definitely got more than that worth of product. I mean, the palette alone is a $65 value, so definitely worth the money for me. I didn't even mention the blush. It's the Patrick Ta box, and I didn't even mention the blush. I think it looks really pretty. Now that the lip is on, I'm actually going to add a tiny bit more because, you know, a dark lip tends to wash you out a bit. So taking a tiny bit more blush just to add a little more color to the cheeks. And yep, still beautiful. Still works wonderfully. Definitely a beautiful blush that you will be seeing a lot more from me on my channel. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to leave this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!